He is a postgraduate in physics, B.Ed in moral and spiritual education, and M.Ed from Regional Institute of Education with first rank. He has trained more than 5,000 of school teachers across the country in various topics, and he is also a corporate trainer in soft skills. He was a master trainer for Microsoft and Intel and handled sessions and workshops for NCERT, CIET, handled sessions in Kerala Central University FDPs and State Institute of Educational Technology, Kerala. He is an expertise in science education, ICT, educational research and statistical analysis, curriculum design and development. He is also a member of Board of Studies and Board of Examination, contributed in different SWAYAM MOOCs, published papers in national and international journals. Sir, with immense pleasure, I welcome you to deliver the session. Over to
Thank
you,
you, ma'am.
sir.
Thank you, ma'am. So at the outset, very good morning to all here. And I would like to thank Amal Jyoti for giving me an opportunity to share some of my thoughts on NEP 2020 and OBE. So I'll just share my presentation for your reference. So basically, if anyone want to talk about NEP, I think there can be scope for personal interpretations. We have with us the 66 page, 65 page document. But the concern would be if anyone go through it, because it is in the public domain, published in the public domain, and anyone can go through that. But when we are approaching maybe this document, I would like to say that this could be approached in different dimensions, because it's a policy document of the current government. At least from education, we can say that, or we can feel happy that after 34 years of gap, we have got a policy in our hand. It's only a framework or some suggestions from the designated committee. Even we know how exactly this has taken the shape. 2018 almost, or 2017 almost, they have started, came up with around 199 pages document published in the public domain. And later, and even we know that there is a portal for my NEP. Suggestions were invited from the common public or any stakeholders. There were n number of meetings with different stakeholders. Public opinions were collected. Then there was another document in 2019, and at last it was published in 2020. So I'm not going into the other details, because we know that any policy is a political document, the political document of the current government. So I'm not going into those dimensions, because this can be approached in sociological way, can be approached in the economical way. But one thing, maybe at the outset, all of us will agree that some issues are there in the NEP document, like some of these constitutional values are either missed or ignored while framing the document. Anyone, those who go through this particular document, In the first run, I think there will be lots of ambiguity. Why? Because most of the reflected suggestions, we know that almost maybe 60 to 70% are in place. Because when we are referring outcome-based education, we know that at higher education or even in school education, OBE has started. Even at higher education, UGC, AICTE was giving the detailed guidelines. What should we do to go ahead with the outcome-based education? So I'd be doing a mixed presentation of referring OBE as well as NEP 2020, because NEP 2020 as such is not giving any clear-cut maybe suggestions about how exactly OBE as a system need to be implemented. It talks about outcomes. It talks about outcomes in different sections. But it's not trying to give you a comprehensive picture how exactly this OBE in the various levels of education. So therefore, I would like to select some of the points from NEP and we will try to connect it with OBE. Because OBE as such, we know that it's almost American in origin. And even when we read NEP 2020, we can see that there is a shift from the existing educational system. Maybe I can say a systemic reform has been visioned, restructuring the different levels of school education, focusing on foundational, preparatory, middle, and secondary, and even the structures, the administrative structures, and even the removal of MPhil. So when we go through those kind of sections, we could easily see that there is a shift from the English or British education system, what we are following currently, into maybe an American system. And some educationist policy experts were suggesting that this would be a major contribution by Professor Manjul Bhargav, who was a member, the Fiddle Medal awardee. So we can see that kind of changes even in terms of the General Education Council and the other committees. So there are lots of reforms, systemic reforms envisioned, but at the end, once we complete reading the entire document, we'll have lots of confusion that does it address on the resources? Does it address on maybe the roadmap? Does it address on certain social issues like gender? So it can be read in different, using different lenses. So my attempt here is to discuss with respect to the framework of OBE. So basically, if I refer OBE framework, I would like to quote William G. Spady, who has written a beautiful document on critical issues and answers on outcome-based education, which was published by American Association of School Administration in 1994. Why should we go for OBE? He was just mentioning because of massive technological, economic, and social changes, we are challenged to boost standards of student performance substantially, especially among those who in the past were least successful. So when a system changes into OBE, even in NPE also, a similar kind of statement can be read. Agreeing upon maybe the pitfalls of past education system, especially reading with reference to Program 21st Century, a document published by UNESCO. UNESCO was calling for skill-based education so that there could be more employability. So one of the pitfall was the existing education system focus more on cognitive abilities and the other domains either deliberately ignored or not covered. So when you read NEP, you can see that a similar kind, the gap between the current state of learning outcomes and what is required must be bridged through undertaking major reforms that bring the highest quality, equity, and integrity into the system from early childhood care and education through higher education. This is what NEP mentions. So comparing these two statements or these two quotes, I think one would be able to come to a conclusion that both these quotes agree upon the lacuna in the existing. There is a gap because the societal needs are getting drastically changed. The perception on the education system itself is been getting redesigned, deconstructed. So therefore, we need to have maybe most of the time I could hear in engineering education go for innovative courses or new generation courses because we know there are new generation skills, set of new generation skills, or I could say there are needs from the market. So we would like to prepare our students for the market needs. That's what some of us say that I produced this many PhDs. So once you say this many PhDs have been produced or this many BTech I have produced, so we consider that as a product. There is an end product. And those products need to be sold appropriately. Francis Bacon has told, I think, therefore I am. So it was a beautiful statement. But now, because of the all forces of, especially the economic forces, makes us to say that I sell, therefore I am. How best I can sell. So in order to have a sustainable market, I need to upskill myself. I need to be competent enough. Or else we would say, earlier we were saying we would become outdated. But now the new gen terminology is obsolete. So either the people are becoming obsolete or the education system as such becomes obsolete. So that is where the quality concerns comes, the professional concerns comes, the productivity concerns come. So we have the concerns on even accountability. All these are coming into education. Earlier it was related to the market or the professionalism. But now even we talk about accountability. So who is accountable for the product, the quality of the product? How exactly we certify? Because people now started asking the testimonials. Other than your qualification degrees, people started asking, what is your testimonial? That is where even our engineering graduates go for visual resume. So in all walks of maybe this professional education, we can see there are changes. In such a scenario, we have a document talking about, yes, there is a gap. Even I was getting reminded about a newspaper article questioning even the existence of CSIR. 45 years of existence of CSIR, what exactly brought to the Indian society? So we know that there is a gap. But meanwhile, we agree that access to education is almost open thanks to technology, some people say. But when we embrace technology as maybe a savior to improve the access, still we have the doubt on the quality, the equity, the equality. Because the COVID pandemic has opened our eyes, given some opportunity to explore the different alternatives to reach to the students. But I don't know how far we are comfortable and satisfied the way we are addressing the learning needs of our young graduates. They're supposed to have hands-on experiences, field-based experiences. Now, at least for a semester, all these are locked down. So this document talks about how to bridge the gap. The gap between, maybe I would say, the British system and maybe a new system which would need to be in place. And even we know that this is being called as a vision document by 2035 or by 2014. No, though there is a unclear roadmap, clarity in the roadmap is not given by the document. But there are lots of suggestions or lots of guidelines. What can we do? And I hope all of us are waiting the derivatives of this particular document in terms of the curriculum framework. At least this document get along with Right to Education Act. Earlier we know it was a constitutional provision to have free and compulsory education. Now it is taking into from early childhood to the higher education. The entire arena of education, maybe the formal education, though it is talking about informal and adult education, at least it gives an idea that yes, we need to have a comprehensive, integrated system. So NEP stress upon the present system because which was being implemented 1986 and then 1992 program of action, and after that we know there are lots of committees into different domains. Committee recommendations are there which was started to implement. Now some of these implemented things are also got in the NEP. That's what we could see. One such thing is outcome-based education. So we feel that NEP is not giving something new about especially outcome-based education. So, agreeing for a self-criticism at the individual level, at the institutional level, as well as at the state level, we may read further into the outcome-based education and NEP. So NEP says, it says that outcome-based education means clearly focusing on organizing everything in an educational system around what is essential for all students to be able to do successfully at the end of the learning experiences. This is the area, this is the concept put forward by outcome-based education framework. It focuses on entire revamping or realignment of the whole educational system, rather considering professional, vocational, and maybe the formal. The focus would be on the learning experiences provided to the learners which equip them to be successful. Now, here comes a question. How many of our engineering graduates are really successful? Looking back, we would say that yes, there is a problem with the foundation. That is where even NEP focuses that the numeracy, the basic skills, giving on the numeracy, focusing on the foundational capacities of literacy and numeracy, taking to higher order cognitive capacities. So this is what stressed upon. That means even after 70 years or 73 years or whatever we count of independence, we are agreeing that majority of the people who have the access to education, very few percentage are becoming successful. That is why, again, though there were lots of changes from maybe the behaviorist paradigm to constructivist paradigm and connectivist paradigm and critical paradigms, all these are there, but most of the time we feel that these are some of the paradigms that need to be taken care at the school education. Even that is applicable in higher education. The way, the methodologies. When you talk about the methodologies, the question comes about which content we are transacting through these kind of specific methodologies. Who decides the content? We'll come to that later. So outcome-based education focuses on what students are able to learn, what they have learned, what they have skilled by the end of the program or by the end of the course. Let us connect that with our NEP statement. In the beginning, the education policy lays particular emphasis on the development of cognitive potential of each individual. It is based on the principle that education must develop not only cognitive capacities, but both foundational capacities of literacy and numeracy. Later, it talks about social, ethical, and emotional capacities and dispositions. While reading, we will get an idea that it's an all-round or holistic perspective. But are we able to support our graduates to go for a holistic development? If any question raised like this, our answer would be so silent and say that no. We find even those faculties in higher education feels that there is a gap. I am not completely equipped. In one of the human resource development session, I had around 82 participants. All are masters and PhD holders. I just posed a question: how many of us can boldly say that I am a master in that particular subject? I have a master degree, qualified as a master in a particular subject, but still we have doubts. Can I agree upon, yes, I have a mastery? We know that this mastery cannot be attained maybe with 2 years or 3 years. We have our MTech students, ME students, they complete and even they go for research, but still there would be a doubt element to agree that yes, I have become. Now OBE focus that yes, at least you acknowledge that, you provide the acknowledgement to the learner. Yes, that is where the OBE framework talk about graduate attributes. Make sure that or label the exiting graduate with yes, these are your skill set. But how far it is possible in, especially in an Indian education system, is a question mark. We'll have more clarity when you go ahead. OBE talks about outcome. They are not values, beliefs, attitudes, or psychological state of mind. They are actions and performances that anybody has got, or that embody and reflect learner competence in using content, information, ideas, and tools successfully. I hope those who are listening to me, those who are participating, are very clear about how exactly we design our outcome. We say that we use action verbs. Outcomes are what learners can actually do with what they know and have learned, that they are tangible application of what has been learned. I would like to underline the term tangible application. How many of our graduates are able to articulate or express whatever they have learned? Forget about the application. How many startups we have? How many incubation centers we have? I'm not asking big questions like how many Ramanujans, how many CV Ramans we have, but at least why? So that would be a reason where even NEP takes the idea that let us go back and start afresh. The curriculum framework which came in school education in 2005 was mentioning one of the best approach to be used in school education is constructivism. Before that, before that we were following behaviorism, where we used to consider that the students who are coming to the classroom, they don't know anything. Some of you may get reminded about the use of tabula rasa, the clean slate. Students comes to the classroom with a mind like a clean slate, and the teachers are instilling different content and how best they can write or how best they can imprint. Because sometimes what happens when it is written on the slate, it can be erased easily by different means, or sometimes we have to overwrite. So when we try to overwrite, then what happened? There will be lots of confusion. From that, we move to constructivism to say that we are all faculty members, allowing our graduates to construct their own knowledge. The advantage is that if something is self-constructed, there will be lots of responsibility, accountability, autonomy. Like what we say colloquially, even somebody asks when you are sleeping, you will be able to answer it because that is being constructed by you. You know each and everything, the nook and corner of the knowledge that you have constructed. That was mentioned in 2005. When it comes to maybe 2019 or 18, in school education, people were talking, let us go back to basics. So this wheel is again and again reinventing. In such a situation, we say that, okay, we can have outcome based. And look at the first statement. They are not values, beliefs, attitudes, or psychological states of mind. I think one need to worry about it. Though we say that, yes, when you are framing your outcomes, give emphasis on the values, beliefs, attitudes, emotions. But the document says, not an AP, the outcome-based education document says they need not be the values, beliefs, attitudes. That means even we have the freedom or flexibility to forego all this. Mean to say, we may be producing machines. That's what even IIT professors are complaining. We have young graduates joining in IITs. They act as machines. You give input, they will give you the output. The logic, which is missing. So that would be one complaint even some of us also agree upon. Those students after class 12 coming to engineering, they are prepared to give you the results when you ask a question, and the syntax should be common. And if you break the syntax, they'll be in trouble, and some of them are not able to cope up with, and they may end up with the other alternatives. NAP is not talking about what need to be the outcome. I hope when the derivatives are coming out from this particular document, there would be people who would like to stress upon covering the values, beliefs, attitudes, and psychological states of mind. Because if any innovation need to happen, you need to have a better state of mind. Or else what happened, like what is happening now. Most of our engineering graduates are so happy to get recruited, placed in some of these technological firms. What happens then? Take up all the stress, anxieties, trauma for around maybe 5 years or 6 years and earn some money, then they get fed up. Even I know so many of our friends, my students, just stopped working. They are not able to withstand the pressure. That is why sometimes maybe we might have heard that the kind of psychological counseling and maybe the channelizing strategies are being implemented. Now, yes, when we go to the new normal, the condition would become so worse because most of the companies have started to say that we will not have the earlier system, we may have the work from home status. Though we are reluctant to agree upon, but the market has already shaped. Even we know we have the work from home packages. So our graduates, young aspirants are getting compelled. Have they trained to do that? Have they trained to perform in such situations? That is another concern. So what and who? Since outcome-based system expect learners to earn out the process defined within an outcome statement, they are careful to build those process directly into outcome through demonstration verbs. This is another challenge. When we would like to transfer the document, the policy into implementation, take the policy into implementation, there would be lots of questions raised. Because outcomes-based system gives the responsibility for the learner to be equipped to perform, to process based on the predefined outcomes, the set standards. In the almost at the ending part of NEP talks about, you will have a professional standard setting agency. Even when in higher education, especially in UGC, we started discussing about when outcome-based education is coming. In UGC document, they are giving one line, or maybe as a disclaimer. They say that we are not intending to have a unified syllabus or unified curriculum across the country. That is a danger we were foreseeing. And that would be a danger we can expect even when the NEP is getting implemented through maybe a national organization or a body under Ministry of Education focusing on setting standards. Whether the graduate has got flexibility, freedom. Now people will say that, sir, then NEP also talks about multidisciplinarity. It sounds good. But how far it is possible? It talks about a model university, discipline-based universities. But how far it is possible? Because we have experienced how exactly these policies or the frameworks are being implemented. So rather compelling, especially in engineering education, we know that the graduates need to have lots of creativity, lots of imagination, and lots of flexibility. And it talks about the standards. This system depends on something means defining, designing, organizing, structuring, focusing, and operating what the system does according to some consistent standard or principle. OBE focuses on that. Defining the set standards, deciding upon. As an important stakeholder, whether the learners get an opportunity to decide upon. We talk about freedom. We talk about autonomy. But whether they will be able to get a role in decision making. I don't think any of us have got anything to say about the existing curriculum. Even the teachers are also not having. So when maybe OBE is getting implemented, will we have a collaborative decision-making system? If that can be implemented, if that is there, I think lots of our challenges or concerns would be addressed. Who defines, who decides the outcome? Now that is what we are waiting, right? In terms of new generation courses, we have an open door policy. Foreign universities are free to come. Now what happens? Maybe some of the corporate say that I need a set of students for this purpose. You provide this particular course. That is what we are going to do in terms of new generation skills or new generation courses. So who decides? Maybe looking back the same Macaulay's system of downward filtration or preparing Indian slaves. If there is no collaborative effort in defining, deciding the outcomes, because we know each individual is unique. Now we are looking into, yes, as a system, as an institute, I need to get accredited, because this OBE, especially in engineering education, we have NBA, and NBS framework is there, and most of our institutes are, because we need to showcase our quality. So the qualities are based on the standards. And who decides the standards? Whether the institute can decide the standards, then we may have a doubt about the quality of the standards. So therefore, we go for maybe ISO certification or NABIT accreditation or NBA accreditation. Parallelly, why are we doing it? NAP mentions about the granting structure, the grant system, how exactly our institutions are granted financially, infrastructure wise. So the system says that if you need the fund, we have enough fund. If you need the fund, you have to follow this. There is a compulsion. So we need to worry about if we are going to implement OBE in the same structure which was implemented earlier in different countries, because the different countries' experiences tells about rethinking the implementation of OBE. Earlier, documents were focusing on objectives. The new document focuses on outcomes. If you just go for a word count outcome, you can see more than 30 or more than 40. So how exactly this would be possible? Outcome-based philosophy suggests before basing a system on outcomes, one establishes clear framework of learning that students will be able to master successfully at the culminating point in the schooling career, what was just referred to as exit outcomes. I think in a developing country like India, we are not so confident to come up with clear-cut exit outcomes. We still struggling a lot. If you refer maybe the program outcome and course outcomes, you'll be able to see that. How exactly they are being formulated. How exactly they are thinking to implement or to achieve. We have experienced earlier there was an engineering syndrome amongst our class 12 students. Everybody would like to go for engineering or medicine. Now as a fund or as a job, we used to discuss that yes, now there is an engineering syndrome. Now nobody wants to go for engineering. If you ask, almost all neatly say, I need NEET. Now what is the maybe renamed engineering syndrome? I joined for the engineering program, but I come out from the course, but I am not completed. I am not successful. Where even we can think that yes, we were not able to achieve the exit outcomes. How? Why? What exactly the problem? Is it in terms of infrastructure? Is it in terms of human resource? Now, when NEP focus on outcome based, embracing as a system, let us get reminded with this statement: before basing a system on outcomes, one need to establish clear framework of learning that students will be able to master successfully, where at the culminating point, at the end of the course, they need to be successful in certain set of skills or in certain set of outcomes. Do we have that frame? Have you done the analysis of the existing system? Where exactly we fail in preparing our graduates? How exactly we fail? We talk about success only. Even OBE talks about success. But have you ever tried to analyze the failures? Blindly, we may say that, sir, our school system is not strong enough. They don't have the fundamentals. Now, when you talk back this, the government will say that that is why we have so many digital initiatives to equip, to bridge the gap. Now, as maybe engineering faculty members, we know how exactly the gap is getting bridged. This is what it says. If you want to embrace on OBE as a system, we need to have the base on top priority to ends, purposes, learning, accomplishment, and results. You may feel as if I'm talking from a market perspective because the market gives the priorities not for the means but for the ends. For what purpose you are doing it? What is your accomplishment? And what is the end result? Which gives a lot of room for other malpractices in the system. So once we think about OBE as NEP talks about outcomes, will it be fair enough to stick only to the outcomes, which gives top priority to the ends, not for the means? Earlier we used to say, or even we have end justifies the means, but our experience says that no, it need not be. There can be n number of means. Even certain institutes I know, I'm not mentioning the places, once you just enter into the course, admit into the course, and if you are providing the semester fees, by the end of the all semesters, you will be provided with a certificate. Is that we are focusing on? So our focus need not be on the ends or the products. I believe that if the process is proper, if your algorithm or flowchart is appropriate, where the graduates can prepare by themselves, putting their logic, I hope they will be ending up with the product. Now, OBE raise a problem of focusing on the ends or the results. I think I have asked a question earlier. I can pose the same question. If somebody asks you what is 5 plus 5, what would be the answer? What is 5 plus 5? Everybody will say it's 10, no doubt. Now it is been asked, what is 5 plus 6? What is the doubt? It is 11. Now the teacher is asking, tell me, how did you get it? Then the student may be thinking that, no, that is what I get. 5 plus 5 is 10. 5 plus 6 is 11. But the teacher intends to find out what is the logic with which he has performed. Now, when it comes to OBE, if the child gives the answer 16, I think we need to be happy. The problem lies there. What is 5 plus 5? 10. Can anyone tell me what is 5 pen plus 5 pen? The answer would be 10 pens. Now, if I ask, what is 5 pen plus 5 pencil? Some of us may say that, sorry sir, that cannot be added. The answer would be 5 pen plus 5 pencil. Is that right? Can all of us agree upon this? I don't think. Some of us will not agree with that. But majority will say that that cannot be added. Why? I have developed a conception that 5 pen, 5 plus 5, that can be added. 5 pen plus 5 pen, that can be added, no issue. But 5 pen and 5 pencil, sorry, they are not the same material, therefore I cannot add. Then the teacher can be happy. Yes, my student understood. But there will be some unhappy teachers staring at the student and ask, is it not possible? There may be one or two. Would like to say that the answer is 10 writing instruments. But our system may not accept that. Who told you to convert that into writing instruments? The student's logic was this. If the teacher is asking 5 pencil plus 5 pen, that means addition is possible. If addition is possible, my logic is that addition is possible for the common base. So I bring those two things into the common base and I consider it as writing instruments and I give the answer. Now here comes the importance for the process. To agree upon the competence or the skill of the learner. One of the company manager, industry manager from Coimbatore, I think around 8 years back, he was recruiting mechanical engineers to his firm. What he has done, he has gone through the certificates, he could get great graduates. His firm was in Coimbatore. Suddenly one day, the machines, one of the important machine stopped working. He was so happy that he has got great talents after the interview. But that company, that particular machine stopped working and was not working for around 1 week. At the end, this is what experience shared by him. At the end, he could send a non-engineering graduate. I'm not defining engineering, but this is what he has told. A senior person who never had this kind of education, but who has got a lot of practical experience from Salem, has been asked to come. Within seconds, he was able to rectify and the machine started working. I'm just trying to correlate what kind of system. This is not in general, but yes, there are these kind of conditions. Like what we say, we used to make comparison between Kerala SRTC and Karnataka SRTC. Those who have traveled, you might have understood. If you travel in Kerala State Road Transport bus, if somewhere the bus got stuck, most of the time we'll be told that we will get you the other bus, we will wait, the wagon should come, then only we can correct it. Whereas I have experienced personally, you may have to wait, but you will not be asked to get into another next bus. The driver and the conductor, even though they are in white and white, they'll be trying to correct it. And now at least there is at least some changes, it seems. Means attitude is a problem and the skill. This is what my theory told. This is what my sketch says. And I cannot see anything like this in the machine. Trying hard, trying hard. Even maybe how exactly this comes to a common sense. A common point of view, one of my neighbor was working in Kalpakam atomic reactor. He was telling why when the mixie was not working, we usually take it to the repair shop. We know these kind of repair shops will be too busy. There won't be any work, but they'll be too busy. They'll say that, okay, tomorrow you can come. So we'll go tomorrow. Can you come maybe in the evening? The evening, the person may not be there. Next day again, we'll go. You have given it, right? Let me check it. He will check and say that, okay, tomorrow you can come. So these tomorrows may be going for a week. Meanwhile, we know what kind of suffering we have at home if there is no mixing. Now, this person was telling, and how much we have to pay? Maybe in the next day, if you go, he'll say, oh, you have come, no? Right, let me check it. He'll open in front of us. He'll just do the reconnection and he will get you the thing. Maybe 10 minutes work. He may take maybe 200 or 300 rupees. This person was telling this 300 or 200 and the 6 days of stress would be avoided if once you got the mixie, you could just unscrew it and check what is the internal system. Not to disturb, just to see what are the things available in that. When the mixie stops working, open it. There may be one resistor might have burnt. Have a soldering iron and resistor may be cost, carbon resistor may be costing maximum 1 rupee. So are we able to develop those kind of attitudes and skills which can have the real life application? It's possible only when if you are able to provide the hands-on experiences. And this person has proved it worth when he bought a new AC, Voltas AC. The settings have been given to him and they told our technicians will be following you. He has done the same. After getting both the components, he just opened it and he could see that in the external system, almost all the parts were rusted. He made the complaint and got it replaced. Means it gives me something to say as a teacher. Yes, this is how education, how our technical education, how our skills influence in our daily life or make our life more comfortable. We used to say, even a PG holder in physics may not be able to remove a bulb from a holder and put it a new one. We'll wait for the technician. So when we focus on I mean to say, when we focus on the end results, these are all would be the challenges. Because I focus on results, rather the process. And this is what another challenge waiting for us. And what does it say? NEP says in 3.6, to make it easier for both governments as well as non-governmental philanthropic organizations to build schools or educational institutions, to encourage local variations on account of culture, geography, and demography, and allow alternative models of education, the requirements for schools will be made less restrictive. The focus will be to have less emphasis on the input and greater emphasis on the output potential concerning desired learning outcome. I would like to read it with an OBE. What does it give? The restrictions on opening new schools would be diluted, or new institutions would be diluted. There would be lots of private, public, philanthropic, NGO partnerships following the same standards or compelled to follow the same standards. But when you say the requirements for school will be made less restrictive, we know what will happen in our country. There are engineering colleges, especially we used to say in Tamil Nadu, or in other parts of the country, there are teacher education institutes, engineering colleges, which is just for the sake of a building without proper infrastructure, and this will be compared with a well-equipped engineering colleges. Even we have enough examples from Kerala itself. So when the government, when the policy says that we are going to dilute and allow the private NGO and philanthropic organizations to start these kind of things, we may see maybe lots of institutions coming up, contradicting to access to quality education. It is not talking about what would be the quality concerns or what would be the quality checks. One side, you are allowing anyone and everyone to come up and maybe contribute, in inverted commas, come and play in educational field. What about the qualities? There may be institutions focusing on certain set of outcomes, like hatching the eggs, like hatches there would be. But what would be the quality? So NAP, in terms of OBE, maybe following OBE and all, parallelly it gives the freedom for maybe more private. I'm not saying it is wrong, but what would be the mechanism? Because we have enough experiences. Now, when you allow this, fine, you have some yardsticks, because in the later part of the document, it talks about some standards and the administrative or monitoring system. And we know what kind of monitoring system, what kind of robustness for the monitoring system. This would be another challenge when you focus more on the end results. The kind of institutional setup, the kind of resources that is available. What does it say? It says about encourage local variations, cultural variations, geographical variations, demographic variations. Meanwhile, it talks about maybe almost a unified system of education. So this ambiguity is there. And if you go back to OBE, while many of the examples differ considered in terms of their operational features, they do share two things. Those systems which are operating on OBE, there are different operational features, but they do share two things common. The first thing, each model is focused on clearly defined performance result for learners that is not compromised. Yes, that is good. If a system is not compromising with the quality, that is well and good. In that way, we would say, yes, we can have OBE. And what is the second one? The second, in each example, what and whether student learn successfully is more important than when and how they learn it. I think there we would have some concerns or challenge. What and whether the student learn successfully is the concern, not when and how they learn it. What and whether students learn successfully is possible if you have a uniform population, a homogeneous population. If you have homogeneous population of the graduates, if you have, then you can have standard questions, what and whether students learn. Whereas in a unity and diversity system, in a more heterogeneous system, I think our focus is on when and how they learn it. And NAP is talking about examination system. It talks about the board-based examinations. So again, that examination system is talking about correct. 4.6 NAP says, in all stages, experiential learning will be adopted. Excellent. Including hands-on learning, arts integrated, sports integrated education, storytelling based pedagogy, among others, as standard pedagogy within each subject and with exploration of relation among different subjects. Moving towards multidisciplinarity. Now, is it possible in higher education? How far we are able to provide hands-on learning? Then maybe the agencies who are going to implement it, they may say that you can have the virtual experiences. You can have the augmented experiences. So when you look at what and whether learned, and meanwhile you talk about the different experiential based strategies. In experiential based strategies, our focus is on the process. What experience the graduate is able to go through. Do we have the resources, the capitals in order to provide varieties of experiences? How many institutions can have it? Maybe the industry experience. So that is where I just mentioned in the beginning, the NAP document is not addressing the issues related to resources. Though it talks about GDP, it never talks about the financial implications. It will say that once we go ahead with this, maybe reformations, we'll be able to contribute to the GDP. But how much is being the implication, the financial implication, the capital in terms of human resource and all, what is that implies? How many would be attracted towards this is another concern. Outcome-based system build everything on a clearly defined framework of exit outcomes. Now the question is, yes, we too can have those frameworks. We are waiting for that. AICTE, NCTE, NCRT, the different agencies, maybe by 2021 or 22 or 20, within 25, we are going to read out all these frameworks, which would be focusing on more of exit outcomes. Now, how far it is achievable? If a group of graduates successfully achieve these exit outcomes, what is their employability? Do we have such kind of situations here? Earlier we used to say brain drain is better than brain in the drain, making a comment on Indian brains moving to US. We were consoling ourselves. Brain drain is better than brain in the drain. Why? Is there any improvement? What kind of improvement do we have in terms of the context and all other situations? Does it address the political, sociological, economical concerns? Policy is not talking about that. It's great to see that yes, the frameworks can be there. An OBE framework, time is an outcome-based system. Time in an outcome-based system is used as an alterable resource depending on the needs of the teachers and students. Flexible curriculum. Can we focus on the flexibility only in the curriculum? In terms of alterable time as an alterable resource, do we have this? In based on NEP, which is giving the different structures of education, I don't think the policy is not giving any room for these kind of flexibilities. And some experts, when we raise these kind of questions, what they were telling, wait, all these concerns would be addressed in the frameworks which is coming as a derivative. So let us be hopeful that yes, there would be some genuine, meaningful, maybe the committees or people who would be giving us clear-cut ideas how exactly time addressed. Because see, we know that there are lots of flexibilities, at least in terms of completing or achieving the outcomes. We talk about exit outcomes. Now, suppose NEP compels us to go with the outcome-based education. We also will be compelled to go with the exit outcomes. Now, what would be the time framework? Especially in professional courses, it says that even you can provide the scope for our graduates to have a working environment. They work, earn, and learn. Then I think we need to think about reframing our structures or destructuring our time-bounded frameworks. Now, in outcome-based system, standards are clearly defined, known, and criterion-based for all students. Do you think that this will be possible, or do we have a system, do we have a practice that before entering into any of the program, do we have the habit of knowing what is the program all about? Most of the time, we know that for a common man, they know, oh yes, engineering degree, medical degree, that is a degree which is maybe a standard degree. But what is in it? What am I supposed to, what my child supposed to do, acquire? Do we have a habit of exploring that? I think we have not yet started exploring what are all, at least how many papers, what are all am I supposed to do. Very rarely now people started thinking about it. So this is where in the beginning we were telling those who would like to take up engineering graduation, will there be any scope for providing role for those students who are aspiring engineering graduation, decide upon or at least to know about the outcomes, because we have criterion based for all students. Now when you talk about criterion based for all students, can we have common criteria? We are all going to face that. We will be compelled, if we are going ahead with OBE, we'll be compelled to go ahead with the different criteria. Now, can you have customized criteria? That would be a question. We'll make it very clear. It focuses on increasing students' learning and ultimate performance abilities to the highest possible levels before they leave the school, or here we can say before they leave the college. Highest possible level. NEP is not talking about the highest possible level, thanks. But OBE focus on the highest possible level, and we know we had a system called MLL as a part of policy action, sorry, program of action, as the implementation of 86 policy 1992. There was a program of action. There we were highlighting minimum levels of learning, considering the heterogeneity. And when you look at OBE, OBE says that we have to focus on the highest possible, the performance abilities to the highest possible. How far it would be achieved? Can we design a system? That is where some people say that, yes, even in India, we are going to have the Finnish system. We will finish everything. Finnish system. Yes, I'm not against that. If you are able to get, if you are able to provide those kind of quality with or for all, it's well and good. But what's going to happen? The divide in terms of quality education, access to quality education is going to happen. It talks about the centers of excellence. Even now also it's there. IITs, for example, how many of our students have the access to IIT programs? We say that only for the cream, only for the creamy layer. Very rarely we find. So can we consider that there is some failure in from the part of the state? If the state can provide, even when you read the entire document, somewhere we will feel that the state is slowly moving away from education as a service. Education is a service. Now slowly we could see education would be becoming a product which I can market. It so happened in most of the countries abroad, they call it as knowledge economy. I have knowledge, I can sell it. I decide upon what should I get back for that. So all these points, why I just presented, NEP says the result of school examination will be used only for developmental purpose of the school education system, including for public disclosure by school of their overall anonymized student outcome and for continuous monitoring and improvement of the schooling system. The same thing is reflected in higher education. What is that? Institutions will be competing in order to disclose the results, focus on the results. So what happened in that? When you focus on results and disclose it as a quality, and the institute being monitored based on that, there is a possibility of unhealthy competitions, which is already been seen. Like in schools, we know the school is aspiring for 100% result. By 9th itself, they will go for filtering. Now, what happens when it comes to higher education institutions? If they say that, like recently we have seen, 100 universities will be allowed, 100 universities will be allowed to start online programs without any permission. What is the criteria? The criteria, either NIRF ranking or NAC accreditation score. I am not commenting on both of these. Yes, we will agree that yes, at least there is some standard. But those standards, are they standardized standards? So this is from NEP. The result of the schools or the institution will be used only for developmental purpose. So the institutional development, the funding solely depends upon the results. So what are the results? Achieving the exit outcomes. And this is what OBC pyramid talks about. Paradigm, purpose, premises, principles, and practices. So if you want to compare how exactly the OBE is reflected in NEP, NEP is not articulating exhaustively about these paradigms. So one may get an idea that even there is no specific agenda of OBE, but obviously it's going to be dumped upon us. What is the paradigm? What and whether the students learn successfully is more important than when and how they learn something. Equip students with knowledge, competence, and qualities to be successful after they exit the education system. How far it is achievable? Most of our graduates are focusing how to exit successfully. If you ask with them, what is your goal? Most of them might not set their goals because they are not being supported. They are not being taken in that kind of context. They may say that my goal is to complete this program. Then only they need to think how exactly or what should I need to do to be successful after the exit. Sensitizing the environment in which they will be taken to. Structure and operate schools so that the desired outcomes are achieved, maximized for all students. That all is a concern for us. What is the premise? It's great to see the premises. All students can learn, but not in the same time, same way. Great. Successful learning breeds more successful learning. True. But how far our graduates experience the success, especially when based on NEP, the different structures are being implemented. School controls the conditions that directs learning. Yes, that is true. What are the principles? clarity of focus on exit outcomes that is to be needed, expanded opportunity. One side, the state demonstrate that yes, we are expanding the opportunity, but for whom? One side, we can try. NEP also talks about expanding opportunity. But while you are expanding opportunity, are you expanding the other dimensions so that the common student populace will become eligible to make use of this expanded opportunity? High expectations for all to succeed. This will create lots of psychological imbalance. Mapping the expectations after maybe a collaborative or more democratic discussion would be so better. And in a country like India, I think setting a common high expectation would not be so easy. And design down from culminating outcomes. You start the ultimate outcome, you start writing, then you go ahead. That's what even OBE suggests you. You have the program outcome, course outcome, then SLOs. Now, accomplishing result is more important than simply providing service. This is what the paradigm shift we have based on OBE. We cannot forego this. What is that? Accomplishing results more important than simply providing service. So if I am providing the service, it is my responsibility to make sure I am accomplishing the result. Connecting to what we were telling, relaxing the administration, then I think, yes, I can do anything and everything to accomplish the results. I'm just leaving the other, dimensions or domain to you. This is what NEP says. National Assessment Center, correct. Performance, assessment, review, and analysis of knowledge for holistic development. As a standard setting body under MHRD that fulfills the basic objectives of setting norms, standards, and guidelines for student assessment and evaluation for all recognized school boards of India, guiding the state achievement survey and undertaking national achievement survey. We have NTA, National Testing Agency. Either the PAREC would be escalated to higher education or NTA would be strengthened. But still, what is our concern? In terms of outcome-based implementation, if this particular or these kind of designated bodies designs upon the norms, standards, and guidelines, what happened? In India, we are experiencing not systemic approach. We are not following system approach. We follow individual approach. What is the problem? That is what we are seeing, especially in all education fields. We have maybe those who are coming in rule, they will try to implement. When the other comes, they will be removing whatever existing, they will be putting in another form. Irrespective of the state or the government, do we have an education system? Our education system solely depends on the political either bias. I hope you will agree that we have witnessed enough. We have witnessed enough. So one side NAP suggests for the better implementation of these kind of system, we would have these kind of designated bodies. But we know these designated bodies may not be following a system approach. Whoever moves away, the system will be collapsed. It's good to read out correct performance assessment, review, and analysis knowledge for holistic development. Because OER's power principles are clarity of focus on culminating exit outcomes of significance, expanded opportunity, high expectations, design down. Now let us hope that is the only way. Let us hope that maybe correct kind of agencies or bodies would be focusing and supporting us maybe as the bottom line stakeholders to have the clarity of the focus, expanded opportunity, high expectations, and design down. Let us be ambitious enough so that maybe by next year we would have clarity. So I'm just raising some of these concerns which need to disturb all of us. The three key dimensions of high expectation: raising standards of acceptable performance, eliminating success quotas, increasing access to high level curriculum. This is what OBE suggests. Now, raising standards of acceptable performance. Who decides the acceptable performance? Whether the market, whether the corporates, whether the educational system, who decides? Whether the society has got a role? What is that acceptable performance? To whom it is acceptable? No idea. Because even NEP talks about the standards, the National Standard Setting Agency. Even it talks about National Vocational Education. Even it talks about National Research Foundation. But how exactly these acceptable performances, standards for acceptable performances would be evolved? That would be another concern. (18.6) NEP talks the fourth vertical of Higher Education Council of India will be the General Education Council, which will frame expected learning outcome for higher education programs, also referred to as graduate attributes. So the General Education Council, GEC, is going to frame the graduate attributes like what UGC or NBA was doing. A National Higher Education Qualification Framework, NHEQF, will be formulated by the GEC and shall be in sync with the National Skills Qualification Framework to ease the integration of vocational education into higher education. This is the part taken from NEP. Sounds good, sounds great, but practically we have the concerns. How feasible these would be? I'll share an example. Now, I don't think the engineering colleges will go for the NAC accreditation. Are we going for NAC accreditation? Are we in the purview of NAC? If yes, you know the criteria. Now, in the last April, not this April, last April, we had a meeting with the NCTE, especially for us, National Council for Teacher Education. They have come up with their framework, accreditation framework, separate accreditation for teacher education institutions. Because we know that need to be there. We cannot have the same yardstick to measure the different domain institutions. But what we could see, there is no changes at all. They have just taken the NAC criteria and put it into teacher education, that's all. Contextualizing, customizing according to the domain of specialization is not being done. So that gives me a doubt on what would be, as you're talking NHEQF and NSQF, if it can be done, if it can be done, then I think it's great. And what is the golden rule of outcome-based curriculum design? Consistency, systematism, and creativity. Now, what kind of consistency maybe our NEP would be bringing? We have to wait and see. What kind of systematism NEP would be bringing? Systematism and how creative our courses would be. I think it's not a good time to think about that. We need to wait because nothing has come out from this policy document. We need to wait for the curriculum framework or the curriculum documents and let us see whether it will be supportive. And almost at last, it talks about the Digital India campaign is helping to transform the entire nation into a digitally empowered society and knowledge economy. Now, almost all of us feel that yes, we will be empowered digitally. While education will play a critical role in this transformation, technology itself will play an important role in the improvement of educational process and outcomes. With all respect to the committee members, I would like to disagree here. The usage, technology itself will play. When we have seen the latest science, what exactly Google is going to do. Google has already declared the investment in Indian education. One side we feel is good. These kind of foreign investments are good in education. But what would be their orientation? That would be a concern. Because our past experiences are telling us to be doubtful. So, however best we get digitally empowered, again, we may ask how far, because during these last 7 months, we have seen the actual digital divide, how exactly it creates a problem in our teaching learning. This is what NEP talks about, empowering maybe higher education. And all these concerns, NEP talks about going back and taking inputs from the cultural heritage. Even it talks about the multidisciplinarity, 64 kalas. Good. You take the energy from the past, no issue. But let us not compel that you need to stick on to that. You can have the holistic development of the individuals. There is no. And what kind of implementation will be waiting for us? Let us wait and see. But at least let us have maybe a preparation. Let us be prepared either to resist or to be aligned with. There will be lots of problem in the beginning years. But if we have already aligned with some of the best practices, which is something convincing us, So I hope we'll be able to uh, witness maybe quality education which is accessible for all. So I've just raised some concerns, and especially in terms of OBE, when we stress on OBE, these are all the challenges we may have to face. Because some of the countries, those who have the earlier practitioners of OBE, they have moved back. So as important stakeholders of especially engineering education, each one of you can contribute a lot into reframing, realigning, or like what you had a session, re-engineering the engineering education. So let all of us take that responsibility. All of us take that responsibility to improve and provide better education, however best we can support our aspiring graduates and be successful in their life. So I think with that, I'll stop at this point, and I could see there are certain questions uh, posted in the chat box. Maybe the first question would be Dr. Anjali asked about how educational policy influence or impact on individuals at the university level. See, any policy will have an impact. Now, even if you look at maybe the higher education component, it talks about the regulatory system. It talks about how exactly the career advancements, the performance-based or professional standard setting bodies, and research-intensive universities, teaching-intensive institutes, all these we have seen. As a higher education or a university faculty, we feel that the university faculty has got more autonomy in deciding upon the kind of researchers and teaching and all. But when you are going to have a categorized institutions and the kind of funding based upon certain set criteria, I think we will have lots of challenges. Some of the challenges would be easily addressed by improving our own personal skills, because that is what we can do. As somebody was telling, the government need to do a lot, but we can see when you read NEP 2020 that government is it gives an idea feeling that government is just withdrawing from some of the important services. So any education policy is going to influence our working atmosphere, the curriculum that we deal, the pattern we go ahead. And Anu asked a question, should we reframe our education system or just continue with conventional way? I would like to respond to this that now there is nothing conventional. If you are representing conventional, that the good old system of education where the teacher comes to the class and teach and the student prepare for the exam, I think there is no scope for that. Reframing our education system, that is what even NEP suggests. But the concern here is how far we would be able to reframe. It's a great vision, maybe over a years of 20 years. It's a great vision. But in an existing social system, in an existing economic system, how far this will be feasible? That is the doubt maybe we may have to raise. Dr. Sanju, what is the new 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 system? Sir, earlier we have the system that we have 10 plus 2 plus 3 plus maybe another 2, means 10 years of formal schooling, 2 years of higher secondary, what was designated, because it was asked 10 plus 2 plus 3 pattern, 3 years of graduation. Now they say that foundational from the age 3 to 6, 2 years of foundational program. From age 8 to 11 means class 8 to 5. Sorry, class 3 to 5 would be treated as preparatory. So for 3 years, Anganwadi or nursery, then class 1 and 2 put together 5 years of foundational program. So at the end of the 5th year, there would be some kind of screening. Then 3 years of preparatory, that is from class 3 to 5 for the age 8 to 11. Then you have a middle for 3 years, class 6 to 8. Then it talks about 4 years from 9 to 12. So this is what the restructuring in this structure. Now the implementation would require some amendment in Right to Education Act also. Now Manoj AV puts a question that what do you think that stressing only teachers by government can improve education? Sir, maybe one way, if you think stressing only on teachers would not be helping. Because teacher has got one stake. Parents have another stake. Even the political parties have another stake. Economic bodies have another stake. So the improvement, whatever we are aspiring, I think there should be a collaborative effort. That's what I say. There we need a systemic approach rather the individualistic approach. Once the government is moving out, even the entire system is going for a reframing. So I think one great thing that makes us happy with this NEP 2020 is that at least it has put forward a vision for around 20 years. It's good because after 36 years of gap, comparing or considering all the changes, having a vision document, it's fine. But we know implementing or achieving this vision in 100% or at least 50% would have lots of roadblocks. And I'm so happy that at least Amal Jyoti kind of institutions have taken up these kind of discussions, at least to sensitize that why do we need to discuss about these kind of policies? Because we need to think about, refine about our own role. Darshana asked a question, what are the merits and demerits of outcome-based education? It's great. I would request you to read the small book written by William G. Spady, Outcome-Based Education, Challenges and Answers. There are lots. One is, what clarity do we have on outcome? And at what level we need to stress upon outcome? Which are the checkpoints in maybe like 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4? In the new system, we believe that there will be number of testings possible. So in that way, I think like in some of the countries, they have vertical mapping and horizontal mapping of the competencies, of the skills. So if we can have those kind of system, I think we can take the best of outcome based. There are lots of merits. Emphasizing the exit outcomes would be the best. But who is emphasizing? How do we emphasize? What kind of support mechanism we have? Those things will take us to the demerits. Rini asked what quantitative variables or approaches have been used to measure the marketization of education. It's a great question. Education has become marketized. Now education, for very few people, it has become a service, and especially most of the people or most of these educations has taken the shape of market entity. Now, quantitative variable To measure the marketization, one is the productivity. What is your productivity? Even you know, according to the NBA guidelines, they have clearly articulate what are all the professionalism, the professional approach, accountability, productivity, the quality, even the quality is in different dimension. Now, maybe your question, I will put it in another way. Who decides this? These quantitative variables to measure the marketization or measure the quality. Most of the time we know that the corporates or the market economy decides. KV Ramana, sorry, that is attendance link, feedback link. Fine. If any more questions, I think we can have maybe some 3 to 4 minutes.
So right now we don't have any questions more.
Okay.
Now we come to the end of the question answer session. So, on behalf of all the participants, it is my most pleasant duty to offer a very sincere thanks to our eminent resource person, Dr. Biju K, for having spared his time to be with us. And we are very grateful for the time and effort you took to share your thoughts and experiences with us on benefits and implementation of outcome based education, OB pyramidal structure, and various aspects related to implementation of national educational policy. Sir, you have inspired us with your session, and we will continue to look forward for your guidance and further inspiration. Thank you, sir, once again for your
Thank you.
wonderful session on NEP and OBE. And thank you, dear participants. Participants can fill in the attendance and feedback form shared in the chat box. The next session will begin at 2 p.m. Once again, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.